They called it a peace dinner. It cost me $9,500, and my husband didn't say a single word. I didn't see it coming. Not the number. Not the tears. Not the way Caleb just sat there and let it happen. One minute, Eleanor was pouring champagne, smiling at me like I was her real daughter. The next, she had her hand over mine, cold rings pressing into my skin, saying, "It's just a small thing." Abigail, it wasn't small. It was $9,500. And I said yes. I still don't fully understand why. But I'm going to tell you exactly how they got me to say it, and what happened when they came back for more. My name is Abigail Turner. I'm 31. And 3 months ago, I sat at a table set with my mother-in-law's good china and learned that family peace has a price tag, and somebody always expects you to be the one who pays it. Let me back up. I married into the Grant family 2 years ago. My husband, Caleb, is the kind of man who goes quiet when his parents are in the room. Not angry, not scared exactly, just smaller. I noticed it on our first Thanksgiving together and told myself it was just family dynamics. Every family has its weather system. I figured I'd learn to read the clouds eventually. Theodore Grant built a mid-sized contracting business from nothing back in the 80s. He talks like a man who's used to people agreeing with him before he finishes his sentence. Eleanor is softer on the surface. Warm hugs, remembers your coffee order, cries at weddings. But I'd started to notice something else underneath that warmth. A pattern. Eleanor didn't ask for things. She arranged for things to be impossible to refuse. 2 weeks before the dinner, she called me. Not Caleb, me. "We haven't had real family time in so long," she said. "Just the 4 of us, no agenda. I just miss you, sweetheart." I believed her. That's the part that still makes my stomach turn when I think about it. I actually believed her. Looking back, this was the trap. So when the invitation came, a real one, printed a peace dinner because family comes first, I said yes before I even checked with Caleb. He hesitated on the phone. "A peace dinner from what war?" he asked. I laughed it off. I told him his mother just missed us. I told myself the same thing. Over and over, the whole drive there, like a woman talking herself into a cold ocean. The house smelled like rosemary and candle wax when we walked in. Eleanor hugged me a beat too long. Theodore shook Caleb's hand like they were closing a business deal. And for the first 20 minutes, it really did feel like peace. Wine poured. Old stories. Eleanor laughing at something. I said like it was the funniest thing she'd heard all year. That was the moment I should have walked out, but I didn't. There was one moment, though, that I didn't understand until much later. Caleb's cousin Sophie was there for 10 minutes, dropping off a dish, and as she left, she squeezed my shoulder and said, low enough that only I could hear it, "Good luck at the peace dinner." Not warm, not a compliment, almost a warning, said with the tired half-smile of someone who'd sat at that same table before. I should have seen it, but I didn't. And that was my mistake. Then the entrees came, and the temperature in the room changed so slowly, I almost didn't notice it happening. Theodore set down his fork. "Abigail," he said, "you're good with money. Caleb's told us that." I remember smiling, confused, waiting for the compliment to land somewhere. It didn't. "We're in a bit of a spot," he continued. "Nothing dramatic. A supplier issue. Cash flow." He said the words the way men like him always do. Casual. Technical, like numbers can't hurt anybody if you say them fast enough. Eleanor reached across the table and put her hand over mine. Her rings were cold. "We wouldn't ask if it wasn't important," she said. "You know how much we love you. You're the daughter I never had." There it was. The hook, dressed up as affection. "How much?" I heard myself ask. My voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone braver than me. $9,500, Theodore said. "Not we need. Not could you." Just the number, dropped on the white tablecloth like it was already mine to carry. I still think about that number sometimes, how easily it left his mouth, how hard it would leave my bank account. Caleb's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. I looked at him, waiting for him to say something, anything, to put himself between me and this moment. He didn't. He just stared at his plate, jaw tight. The same smallness I'd seen at that first Thanksgiving. Except now I understood it wasn't shyness. It was practice. He'd been shrinking in this room his whole life. "We'll pay you back," Eleanor said quickly, like she could feel the silence turning against her. Of course we will. This is what family does for each other. I want to tell you I said no. I want to tell you I stood up, folded my napkin, and walked out with my dignity intact. That's not what happened. What happened is that Eleanor started crying. Soft, controlled tears, the kind that arrive on cue, and said something about how hard it's been, how Theodore hasn't slept, how she just wants everyone to feel safe again. And I felt the guilt close over my head like water. I thought about every kindness they'd shown me. I thought about Caleb's face if I said no in front of his parents. I thought about being the daughter-in-law who ruined the peace dinner. So I said yes. I transferred the money that night. Sitting in my car in their driveway, hands still shaking, phone screen too bright in the dark. No agreement, no timeline. Nothing but Eleanor's voice in my head saying this is what family does. Caleb didn't talk about it on the drive home. I didn't either. We just sat in that silence together. Two people who both knew something had happened but weren't ready to name it. For a few weeks, I told myself it was fine. I told myself I'd done a good thing. I even felt a strange pride at, look at me. The bigger person, the one who shows up for family. I built a whole story around my own generosity because the alternative story, the one where I'd been maneuvered, was too humiliating to sit with. Then, 6 weeks later, my phone buzzed on the counter at 8:14 p.m. Eleanor's name on the screen. I remember smiling before. I even answered. That's how far from suspicious I still was. Her voice was different this time. Lighter, almost casual, like she was asking me to pick up milk, not open a wound that hadn't even closed yet. Sweetheart, I hate to even bring this up, she said, but Theodore's business needs a little more breathing room. Just until the Hendricks contract clears. I actually laughed, one short, disbelieving breath, before my brain caught up with what she'd said. And that's when Sophie's voice came back to me, unannounced, uninvited, good luck at the peace dinner. She hadn't been talking about one dinner. She'd been talking about a system. And I had just become the newest person running through it. I stood very still in my kitchen. I remember the exact spot, next to the stove, dish towel in my hand. Water running behind me that I forgot to turn off. How much? I asked again. And this time my voice didn't sound far away. It sounded like mine. Just 4,000, she said. We wouldn't ask if... You said you'd pay the first one back, I said. Silence on the line. A real one, not a performed one. We will, she said too fast. Of course we will. I just thought since we're family... I know what you thought, I said, and I hung up. I sat down at my kitchen table and I cried. Not the pretty, controlled kind Eleanor does. Ugly, furious crying. The kind that comes from realizing you've been played and you helped hold the cards. I wasn't crying about the money anymore. I was crying because I finally saw the pattern clearly. All the way back to the beginning, every dinner, every warm hug that came with a hook in it. That night I told Caleb everything I was feeling. Not the polite version. The real one. You watched them put a number on the table and you cut your steak, I said. My voice wasn't loud. It was worse than loud. Flat, controlled. The voice you use when you've stopped hoping someone will interrupt you. You let your mother cry until I paid for your father's business. And you said nothing. Not one word, Caleb. What was I supposed to say? He snapped back. And for the first time in 2 years, I heard something in him crack open. You think I haven't tried? You think you're the first person they've done this to? Then why didn't you warn me? I said. Why did I have to find out from your cousin's 5-second warning at the door? He flinched at that, hard like I'd hit a nerve he didn't know was exposed. Because I was hoping this time would be different, he said. Because some part of me still wants them to be the family I keep pretending they are. Well, they're not, I said. And every time you go quiet at that table, you're not protecting them from a fight. You're handing me over. He didn't defend himself after that. He just sat there, hands over his face. And when he finally looked up, his eyes were red. I've been watching them do this my whole life, he said. To me, to Sophie, to anyone who marries in. I didn't know how to stop it without losing them. And for the first time, I understood that Caleb wasn't the villain of this story. He was another person they'd trained to pay for peace with pieces of himself. He'd just been paying longer than I had. We made a decision that night together, at that same kitchen table where I'd once ugly cried alone. No more money without both of us agreeing, out loud, in daylight, no exceptions. No more decisions made under candlelight and guilt. If it was really an emergency, it could survive a phone call the next morning. 3 weeks later, the call came. Eleanor again, same soft opening, same I hate to even ask. A car repair this time. Small, she said. $1,200. I let the silence sit there longer than felt comfortable. Long enough that she filled it herself. The way people do when they're used to being agreed with quickly. We're not able to help with that, I said. Not I can't. Not let me check. We're not able to. A closed door, not a cracked one. After everything we've done for you, she started. I know you love us, I said, and I meant it. Because underneath everything, I think some part of that family really does. But I'm not going to keep paying for peace that isn't real. If it's real peace, it doesn't come with a number attached. She didn't have a script for that. Eleanor always had a script. This time there was just quiet, and then a stiff goodbye. And then nothing. No calls for almost 2 weeks, which told me more than any conversation could have. I never got the $9,500 back. I want to be honest about that, because this isn't a story where the money magically returns and everyone learns their lesson in one clean scene. Some weeks I still feel the hole it left. I picked up extra freelance work. I canceled a trip I'd been saving for. I looked at my bank account some nights and felt that old shame creep back up my spine. But I got something else instead. Something I didn't know I was missing until I had it. I got to watch my own voice come back online, one small refusal at a time. I got to watch Caleb stand a little taller at his parents' table, because now he wasn't standing there alone. Eleanor still calls sometimes. The dinners still happen, occasionally, smaller now, quieter. Nobody's mentioned the debt in months. I don't know if they've forgiven me for saying no, or if they're just waiting for a softer moment to try again. Honestly, I don't need them to forgive me. I've stopped needing that. What I needed was to understand, something that took me 31 years, and one very expensive dinner to learn. Love that only shows up with an invoice isn't love. It's a transaction wearing a family's last name. I still think about that first night sometimes. Eleanor's cold rings on my hand, the ice cracking in my glass, the number landing on the tablecloth like it was already mine. I think about the version of me who said yes because she was so afraid of being the one who broke the peace. She didn't know yet that peace you have to buy was never peace at all. She just hadn't learned the price of her own name yet. That peace dinner didn't fix anything. It just showed me what peace was costing me. I have now